Hi there, fellow YouTubers. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to review The Temple of Doom. This movie came out in 1984. It was directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Harrison Ford and Kate Capshaw. Um, this is one of those films, historically speaking, that's not very much wrong with it. It's an excellent movie. Lots of fun, lots of action, lots of adventure. It is one of those movies where it's just fun to watch, fun in every way. I don't really have any real problems with the Temple of Doom. There has been perceived questions on how extreme it is in certain parts, especially in the parts later in the film where they show stuff happening, like people taking hearts out of people. But I don't know. To me, it fits with the whole film context. Sometimes I feel like this is my favorite Indiana Jones film. Um, Basically, Harrison Ford stars as Indiana Jones, and as usual, there's an intro sequence that has really nothing to do with the rest of the film. It's actually, to me, it's the best intro sequence because it has like kind of like the more normalized 30s feel with the dancing squad in a what I think it's the Chinese nightclub. And more or less, yeah, this is where you kind of meet Harrison in the start and Kate Capshaw's character. I think they call her, I think they call it Willie. And more or less, yeah, you get the meeting and it's about. This sequence involves a nice little set of dancers. Again, it's a short sequence. It kind of introduces them. To me, it's the most 30s-esque sequence of any of the Indiana Jones films because more or less that's, it's dancers on a stage in front of a bunch of people. Um, More or less, this film gets going with the usual stuff. It it heads off to India this time, unlike the first film, which was sort of basically in the Middle East, western parts of the Middle East, maybe even Egypt there. But this film here heads off to the world of somewhere in India. Never paid much attention to which part of India it's in, but it's supposedly in India, somewhere in there. Doesn't really matter. All I needed to know is that they go to this place where it's supposed, on the surface, it's an innocent little shrine temple location with a so-called assumed to be cherished individual who turns out to be like a kid. I don't think anybody was quite expecting that. But nonetheless, it's got some cute little sequences. I think the only issue some people have with this film is that it's got Short Round in it, which is a little boy, well, a teenage boy who follows Indiana Jones around. Basically, it's not entirely clear their entire relationship, but more or less he's somebody, little kid buddy that Indiana Jones has, and it sets up the whole thing. More or less, uh, it's got some cute moments in it. They find out that Indian cuisine is not quite up everybody's alley. They find out a lot of things. More or less, they end up visiting a village which has been having on hard times lately. And they think it's got something to do with the fact of the local shrine area. So, of course, they have an infamous scene involving elephants, and they go off to this place. Uh, there's lots of interesting sequences in the temple area. More or less, they get a nice little in joke about dinner etiquette, Indian dinner etiquette. Of course, some of their food is quite a bit different than the normal cuisine we're used to. Whether or not that's actually normal, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think they're quite like that. But I guess that's the whole in joke, is they eat things like snakes and eyeballs, but I don't think they actually did that. That was more of a referential in joke. But nonetheless, it shows off some interesting cuisine, and then it nonetheless heads off. They end up staying in a hotel in the sort of hotel quarters per se of this location, and it works well enough. Gradually, Indiana Jones and Willie sort of realize that they have liking for each other. Um, I think it works well enough. It introduces a neat little sequence. They both are having troubles deciding, are they compatible? Sort of are, sort of aren't. I mean, they've only known each other for like a day or two, I think, at this point. So I think it's amusing that they're already in the zone. But nonetheless, this is the part where Indiana Jones gets attacked in his bedroom, and he finds out basically that there's a whole host of tunnels and stuff hidden in behind the architecture, and it brings us into the world of the Temple of Doom, and it turns out that there's sacrifice going on in this temple and stuff like that. They all thought this was over with a long time ago. But apparently this group still does it, and they have child slave labor. It's unbelievable. Can't believe it. Best thing in the world. The sequence that's considered harsh, though, is they literally rip the heart out of somebody, which to me is, I don't know, I didn't find it that extreme for the timing of the movie. I think that actually the most extreme sequence is showing Willie going down, keeps being dropped in a carriage down to the bottom of a fire pit, more or less a magma pit or whatever. It's not entirely clear what it's supposed to be. All we know is that she gets fairly close to that thing. I was like thinking, I'm pretty sure she would have burst into flames multiple times already. By now, given the heat of these areas, it would be agonizingly hot down in those locations. But yeah, the film goes on, and it shows us the slave labor going on in the backgrounds. It's a mining camp. Basically, I think they're mining for diamonds or something like that. I don't really pay attention to what they're mining. It's just the fact it introduces good sequences of they gradually finding out that the whole thing is a big cover operation for a mining operation, and they're trying to find key ingredients to continue this operation. But nonetheless, they go through the motions of relieving the children of their bondage, so-called bondage. Find out that almost even even the local princes, even under the influence of this cult. It's like a cult in the area. They have people under a spell per se. I don't know. It's got good sequences in it. The best sequence is probably the roller. So it's almost like a roller coaster, more or less. Mining bins going along on rail car mining bins going along, and they hop on one of those and they go through this rather spectacular sequence of rolling down the coast at about probably 35 miles an hour. It's pretty fast. I mean, for that condition, it would be very fast. I don't think they would have stayed on the rail lines quite as well as they did. But nonetheless, it works. This movie is a little bit different than the first one in the sense that it kind of doesn't really move a whole heck of a lot. It kind of stays in one spot. And I think that was the point, is that this movie is very different from the first one. This movie is a little bit more straightforward. Nonetheless, there's still the usual stuff of Indiana Jones. It's not quite as much treasure hunting in this movie, not quite as much mystery. It's more or less them finding out about a cult that's trying to use a labor camp, a location. So yeah, all in all, I don't know. It's I think it's almost my favorite of the movies. I like the intro sequence the best of any of the movies. Works pretty good. Pretty good film. Cool.